Welcome to Texas Truck Channel Podcast, episode 36. I'm Craig.
I'm Brian.
And Brian, we've got an interesting podcast today. We're in our mobile studio.
We are, yes. Well, this week's mobile studio.
This week's mobile studio. Brian, tonight's mobile studio is, do you want to explain what the mobile studio is and what that's all about? So our sound might be a little different tonight.
It might be better.
It might be better. I don't know.
So this is a harken back to how we used to podcast.
Mm-hmm.
We used to podcast from our vehicles in our garage because that was the best sound stage we had.
Mm-hmm.
That was comparable at each house.
True.
Because for those who don't know, we podcast remotely. Hate to break it to you, we don't live with each other. We're brothers, but we don't share rooms anymore. And we're about an hour away from each other. So logistically, to get this thing done, we have to just call in and use a web format to do all that. Now, tonight, we are doing our weekly car swap.
Mm-hmm.
Our avid watchers and listeners have heard us say this before.
Mm-hmm.
Midweek, we swap press cars, whatever we have.
We're in the middle of that as we're recording.
Right. And so, with the sake of the holiday schedule we're both walking into this week, we're just going to podcast right now.
Yeah, be a lot easier.
And we are, sorry, what are we in, Craig?
So, Brian, we are in I assume this is a 24?
24, yep.
24 Honda CR-V hybrid, which seems actually quite nice. And we're going to get to a vehicle, we're swapping two vehicles. I'm not going to mention the other vehicle yet, but
I want to tease the other vehicle.
Go ahead.
Okay, so if you've been following our social media stuff, by the time this comes out, you'll know that this is where we are revealing, before we put it on YouTube, we're revealing what our next long-termer is. We went and bought something over the last weekend, and we're going to get into all that at the end of this podcast.
Yes. So stay tuned to the end of this podcast to get to that. But Brian, that is, let's just say the vehicle we're in, the CR-V hybrid, probably a better studio. In fact, I'm just going to go ahead and talk about the studio real quick.
Yeah,
the interior of the CR-V. It's a nice spot. We're in a really nice spot in here. And it's, it's, other than the LED light that shines right in your eyeball when you turn it on.
Right.
It's okay. I got a hat. I'll just dim it.
It does light the interior, but mostly your eyeball. Yeah.
But it is nice in here. It's quiet.
Yeah.
I've got heated seats, so I'm not too cold. It's cold tonight. What's it, 40-something degrees?
45 degrees. And we have the engine on just in hybrid mode. So
right.
That's why our seat heaters are still working. But you may hear it crank up during the podcast.
Yeah, that's okay. That's part of the ambiance. But Brian,
I like it. It's good. Now, you haven't driven it yet for the week.
I haven't yet. I'm going to drive it after this.
Yep. And
I've driven it before.
I have too.
So
last time I drove this, I got a wheel off the ground at the media shoot for the truck rodeo. I didn't realize it was the same exact unit they're bringing back.
Yes.
And I will say it's very graceful in the way that it lands. We can just get to that right now on a dirt track. It's pretty good.
We've both had fun driving this on a dirt track. It was not designed for that, but it was kind of fun. So looking forward to that. Brian, but it's another crossover.
It is
another crossover. Another crossover.
They're compulsive, Craig. They keep multiplying.
We can't get rid of them. It's like talking about Toyotas on this podcast.
No, Land Cruisers.
Land Cruisers on this podcast.
With you.
Yeah.
Podcast or not.
True. Yeah. Good point. Golden ratios, whatever. This does not have a golden ratio.
I just edited that, by the way.
This does not have a golden ratio. Neither does our teaser vehicle or long-termer.
Not at all. Speaking of long,
not
at all.
Yeah, okay. A few more hints there. But Brian, let's just not ignore the fact that crossovers are a part of everyone's lives.
Yep.
In fact, I did some research today prepping for this podcast. Do you know what globally the number one selling vehicle was last year?
Globally, not
globally.
The F-150.
Globally.
Well, it used to be the F-150.
Last year, the Toyota RAV4.
I was about to guess that, but I had a feeling that I don't want to ruin it for you.
Yeah.
That's actually kind of shocking because I thought the RAV4... Well, yeah, let me back up. Is there like a smaller trim of it elsewhere, or is the one that we have the same as the rest of the world?
I didn't dive into the details of those numbers. I'm not sure.
Because I wonder if it's a brand, like the model is the number one model, but in Korea, is it the same size car?
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Because it's a big car elsewhere in the world. Like here, it's a midsize. Well, I guess it's a compact now.
Yeah,
but it's huge. Just like the CR-V, they're big.
Yeah. So I don't know. I was surprised to see that. I know they sold a lot of them. In fact, I think October last year in the U.S., it was the number 3 selling vehicle in the U.S. Just unbelievable.
That's incredible. That's what a machine.
Yeah, it's just
like they're cranking cash out with that.
And what that just goes to tell you is there's a lot of crossovers being bought by a lot of people. That's just Toyota happens to be leading the pack in that one. But there's plenty of other crossovers being sold too.
We're sitting in a CR-V that's also a high seller, and I'll have to pull numbers and maybe we'll recap on the next podcast. I suspect the CR-V is soon, if not already, outsell the Accord. Much like the RAV4 is outselling the Camry now. It's just...
That's why sedans are going away.
Sedans are going away, people are getting this. And can I defend it for a second?
Yeah.
Because I know we're going to walk into criticism, and as journalists, we feel obligated. We got to stand on a pitchfork and go, CVs suck. And
get a wagon. Get a brown wagon with a manual and a diesel.
Yeah, with tweed seats and whatever. I understand that. Nothing against a long roof wagon or a sedan. Sedans used to be awesome. I've driven the Accord a lot. You and I both have. I like this more.
Oh.
Sight lines are better. The seat is more comfortable. You don't hit your head when you get in because it's trying to look at this swoopy thing. Because part of it's because they've ruined the sedan. They're like, oh, if we're going to keep it,
That's part of it,
make
too.
it sexy. No,
Yeah.
when you make that roof like that, I just have 4 seats I can't use very
Yeah,
well.
an old Accord was really easy to get in. I had a
Was
big
awesome.
greenhouse.
Yeah, they're awesome.
You could see out of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then this thing, and I think it's because it's all-wheel drive and the Accord was not. The powertrain is the same except for the all-wheel drive part. This feels way more refined. And here's the biggest deal. It's a lot quieter than the Accord is. And I don't know if that's just distance from the ground or they just pay attention to NVH more here. If I had to go buy one for myself, it'd be this over the Accord.
Very interesting.
And the Accord looks better. I'm not credit where it's due. It looks better than this does.
I'm fine with all that. I just wish there was a CRV Type R. That's all I'm saying.
I agree. Or a CRV manual. But look, this is CVT. And well, you haven't driven it yet. Well, I don't want to get into it too much. This is the best CVT Honda's ever made for sure.
Or a CRV Trail Sport would be nice.
That's actually a real good idea. That's the way to go with this.
Speaking of trail sports, Brian, that's what we're going to get into tonight. We're going to talk about the top 3 modifications you should do to your crossover
What a fun topic.
if you plan on overlanding it.
Okay.
Look, 2 things are huge in our world right now. Overlanding
Oh, yeah.
and crossovers.
We can't avoid them. Either one of them.
You can't. So let's just quit fighting it.
Let's
just accept it. And it's actually kind of fun. Every time we get some of these crossovers,
I know.
what do we do?
Enjoying them. We end up liking them.
We do the hill test.
Yes.
Because like, look, someone's trying to get to their campsite because they're overlanding it.
Instagram says this needs to happen.
And we always talk about, well, man, if you just did this or that, like, you could actually do it. Like, so let's just get into that. Because some of these crossovers do have some limitations, whether it's the chin spoiler, or whether it's some tires, or whether it's who knows what transmission.
Right.
So we challenged each other today we're going to build a particular crossover, and we're just going to go back to that best-selling one.
Oh, man.
The best-selling vehicle last year was the RAV4.
Right.
And of the RAV4, they sell the most trim levels of the XLE.
Right.
So you can there's a bunch of trim levels.
Which was my beef, by the way, because I didn't realize they had a wilderness trail of it.
Yeah.
Which gives you the torque vector and rear diff.
Yep.
Hello. Why couldn't we go one trim up?
Nope.
That would have made this so much better.
Nope.
Okay. I struggled. I spent hours on this.
That's
today,
the fun of the
actually.
crossover. You gotta. People are gonna buy the cheap one because that's all I can afford.
Okay, but it's not that much. It's so close.
But then this is why people are buying Subarus, right? They're buying the cheap Subarus and they're building them up. So, in fact, the manufacturers are figuring this out. That's why Toyota now makes a what do they call theirs?
Subaru makes a wilderness edition.
Yeah, but what does Toyota call theirs? Not Adventure.
Woodland.
Woodland. That's it.
Woodland.
Yeah.
Woodland.
Yeah.
They make Woodland. They make the TRD off road too.
Yes, and they had an Adventure spec maybe a year ago. Maybe that's
what the Woodland is.
Was kind of
yeah.
Okay. So that was the challenge. The challenge was, Brian, give me your top 3 modifications. In this particular scenario, you have to buy a Toyota RAV4 XLE. I did say all-wheel drive, though, because what are you doing if you just front-wheel drive? I mean, come on, you got to get all-wheel drive. That puts you at about $33,000, depending on taxes and delivery and where you live, probably. So, but let's just say $32,000 to $33,000. You're getting you a RAV4, the best-selling vehicle on the planet, and all-wheel drive. Not bad, actually. So,
which we've driven that thing off-road. It's pretty damn good.
Yeah. And so we're going to modify that thing because that's what we own in this hypothetical scenario.
Okay.
And you can make 3 modifications to it to overland it and take it on trails. And I'm thinking like trails like in Oklahoma we talk about.
Okay.
Dirt roads, dirt tracks,
Instagram off-roading.
Overland, I want to make sure the audience knows. Overland is different than off-roading. We're not rock crawling or off-roading.
I know.
We're overlanding.
Yeah, no, I missed the mission a little bit on this.
Okay, did you? Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking about that on the way over here. I built me an off-roader. I didn't build me an overlander.
Okay.
But
part of it is getting over our little hill test.
Here's my justification. Let me get this out of the way.
The gatekeeper?
Absolutely. Before you rip me apart, because I know you're going to be like, you missed the mission, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, let me end with that, because I think that we're going to have different angles on this.
Well, here's our format. You're going to go first with your number 1 mod. I'll go with mine, and then you'll go your number 2 and number 3.
Right.
And we may have some of the same. So, listener, you're lucky. You may actually get the top 5 tips. But Brian's got his top 3. I got my top 3. Brian, why don't you give us your number one thing you need to do when you get that RAV4? What's the first thing you need to do?
Well, I want to clarify. You did not specify a budget on this.
I did not. That's true.
And I still kept
now,
it.
At the end of this, we're going to compare budgets. But
I've got numbers for that.
Okay.
But I kept it realistic.
Okay.
So part of me was like, look, you need a locker.
Okay.
And it turns out they make an e-locker for the previous gen RAV4 and Highlander, but not the current ones.
Okay.
Like an aftermarket one.
Okay.
They don't make one for this one.
Okay,
So
interesting.
your best option, or at least one, I spent about an hour looking for
And
it.
I think the current gen is like 18 to 23, something like
right,
that.
so fifth gen is the RAV4 we're talking about.
All right.
And so I just abandoned that. Can't be done.
Okay, so that's a great idea, though. I didn't even think about that.
So first,
great idea.
Right. I threw you off with something else.
Okay.
When we talked the other day, but I get that for myself.
Okay.
But it can't be done. The next best thing is to not modify anything and just get the wilderness one or whichever, the woodland one or the TRD one. Save this mod money and just get one of those.
No.
Because you get a torque vectoring diff.
That's not as much fun. No, you gotta make it yours. You gotta.
But if it was mine, I would just do that and modify it less.
Fair enough.
Because I think that's more important than anything I'm going to mention except for one mod.
Okay.
Here it is. 245/65/17 BFG KO2 all terrains.
Okay, that's your number one first mod.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's your first mod. So
it will fit at the factory ride height.
Okay, very
so
good.
If you can do nothing else but one thing.
And that's a 245/65?
245/65/17.
Okay, very good.
That is the largest tire you can fit in the factory wheel well without lifting or clearance or anything.
Okay, let me ask you this. Would you get E-rated or C-rated?
It is a C-rated size.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no option on it.
I like that, though, because it's not as heavy.
E-rated will ruin this car because it's not heavy. You don't need it. You just don't need it.
Driveline's not built for that, and it's just too much.
And a trail that's that aggressive, the rest of the truck's not really ready for. So
it's pointless.
It'd be unrealistic.
But I'm bringing that up because a lot of people think, well, you have to have an E-rated tire.
You do not. No.
And these crossovers don't get an E-rated tire.
Now, on a 6,000-pound truck, okay, maybe start tossing that idea around.
Sure.
But there's still trade-offs of that.
Absolutely.
Look, we owned them on our old long-term Raptor. And there's a big trade-off. MPG dropped like 1.5 miles a gallon. I remember what you do, and it got slower.
We've had C-rated and E-rated. We've lived with them, driven them, and there's a big trade-off. I'll be honest, I almost would prefer a C-rated even on a full-size truck.
Me too, and that's why Raptors are sold with C-rated now. They don't make them in E-rated anymore. And now we'll say that I never had a flat tire in E-rated. I've had nails bounce off the sidewall.
That's actually a huge plus.
I've literally seen metal stuck in the side tread block that didn't puncture. So there's things. Anyways, we're derailing here. They are $204 or $205 a piece.
Okay.
So we're talking $820.
Yeah.
That's a very reasonable thing to do.
$1,000 install at the most.
Yeah.
And sell or not sell.
Yeah, all that stuff.
That's not bad.
I think it's fair.
Very good. That's a very good mod. That immediately, what that does, I like that mod because that immediately gets you onto the trail.
Yep.
Let's say you can't do any more. You got that mod. You get on some trails and a lot of worry and there's a lot of ease brought to you because you've got a good tire that can handle it's a little more puncture resistant, a little more grip,
a little bit of rock,
a little more mud. Yeah, all those things will be a little bit better. You can air down a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, you have more sidewall now. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, in this spec, I did not get. There's a 20-inch wheel available in the XLE. I got the 17-inch wheel.
Yes.
I did not from the dealership. I did not get.
No,
the
we're
wheel.
going 17. Yeah. Very good. Okay.
Had to specify that.
Very good one.
What about you?
My first mod is got to be first because of my second mod. But I can't mention my second mod yet.
Okay, precursor.
But you have to go in order because otherwise, if you do the other ones first, it's not going to be good.
Get there. Okay.
Okay, and it's going to suck until you do the second one. So you're going to have to do mine together.
Okay.
My first mod is, and I normally wouldn't go this route, but they have a really good kit. Ironman does. Ironman suspension.
Okay.
That's a really good lift kit, and I went with theirs because Brian. So many of the lift kits out there in the crossover world are spacers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Body mounts or whatever, or it's just springs. They're not thought through real well. I like this Ironman kit because it gives you it basically gives you a front coilover and it gives you rear springs and rear shocks that are actually different and actually lift the vehicle.
Yep.
So, and that kit was about $1,500 if you don't get their full Overland kit.
$1,500.
Yeah, maybe.
What kind of damper are we working with here?
Well, it's an Ironman damper. That's actually the branded damper.
Yeah, no, okay.
And it may be, I could be wrong. It may be a little less because I was looking at the kit. The total kit actually comes with a front skid plate and tires, and it was like $1,800. But I actually went. So if you go to the suspension, it may only be like $1,200.
It's got to be a lot cheaper than it.
It's probably yeah. So let's around $1,200. Let's go around $1,200.
Okay, but
what that gets you is that gives you a 2-inch lift. The RAV4 comes with an 8.3-inch lift. And this is going to be important later.
8.3 inch
ground
clearance.
Sorry. 8.3 inches of ground clearance. Yeah. This is going to be important later, and I'll explain why this will be important later, because I'm not getting something else later, which is going to be okay, and I'll say this will be why.
Okay. So you kind of geeked out on the suspension more than I did.
Mm-hmm.
And, we'll talk about this more at the end, but basically, I didn't find the Ironman kit.
Okay.
And when you buy the kit, you're kind of cheating. If you were to have gotten...
I'm kind of cheating because, I mean, it's springs and shocks together, but that's why I did that.
I'll let that happen. I'm okay with that.
Okay.
But I didn't know you could get the kit that had tires and this, like you said, a skid plate at one point.
Yeah, I felt like that was cheating too much, so I didn't go with that.
I'm glad you didn't because I was looking for that to try and cheat.
I almost did that to cheat. Was like, that's too much. But I am taking the suspension together because their lift kit comes with...
That's fine.
Because other lift kits were just spacers. This lift kit comes with springs and shocks.
And it's within a category. I'm okay with that.
So anyways, that gives you about 2 inches, and it's designed for all this activity you're going to be doing. I feel like that was a decent mod.
Yeah.
Now, it's going to be weird when you do this at first because you're going to have your stock tire on there, but that might get solved in the next one. So.
Okay, well, and the good news is, too, is that when you do that, approach angle has helped, too.
Yes.
Like, there's a lot of benefits with the lift.
Right, and so we should mention that. The approach angle on the RAV4 XLE is 19 degrees.
That's pretty good.
It's actually pretty good stock form.
That's better than a lot of cars.
That's going to actually almost make our hill test. Our hill test needs about 20 degrees.
Right. Give or take. Depending on bumper design.
And I was thinking of our hill test for my first model because now with the 2 inches of this lift, you're probably, that approach angle now is over 20 degrees for sure.
Yeah.
And you're making at least our hill probably.
That's actually a really good idea. So my logic with the tires first was kind of the same thing because I'm gaining about an inch of tire height.
Yeah. So
I'm getting a half inch of ride height benefit and adding grip.
Yeah.
So maybe more complicated, but also once I get the nose over, it might be easier.
Good point.
It's like you're trading punches there. We're kind of tit for tat so far.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right.
So speaking of tit for tat,
Number two,
I want to actually look at this a little bit different. I went the route that I actually teased this earlier to you. I went skid plate.
Okay.
Because,
but by the way, there's a lot of skid plate options out there for the RAV4.
There's a ton.
I could not believe it. Were you surprised by that?
There are rear diff skid plates for it.
Was that not unbelievable?
Unreal. I'm going.
It's a RAV4.
It has more than my Land Rover as an option. I don't understand it.
What this speaks to is that the thing we're talking about, people do.
Someone's buying them.
Yes.
All right. So the good news is they're not that expensive either. So I went with the one that I felt was the most comprehensive because I didn't think I could buy all the skid plates with our game of you can do 3 things. Because if I do that, I'm buying 5 things, right? So I said, what's the one that you really want on a trail like this?
Yes.
The one what you don't want damage on a trail.
This is an important mod.
Well, here's the deal, because this goes back to my philosophy of overlanding as well, which I'm going to get to at the end. It'll be more sense then. This is the ASFIR 4x4 skid plate.
I like it.
And it covers the engine and the gearbox.
Okay. That's a good skid plate.
So it's a lot longer. So basically it's a front bumper to almost the catalytic converter. When you look at it installed, I found some photos of it installed. It's like the front quarter of the car.
That's a legit skid plate that actually covers quite a bit in all the important bits, really.
Absolutely.
Everything else that's not covered with that skid plate.
I'm willing to scrape.
It's okay. Yeah. As long as you're going slow, it doesn't matter.
The only other thing I might want is a fuel tank skid plate, but let's be honest.
You're not going to be going fast enough to worry about it.
Right. And I'm probably not going to make it past the front diff if it's that bad anyways.
Yeah, you'll back off.
So, yeah, that's what will happen. And the way this is designed, I can back off things.
And that's about, what, $500 maybe installed?
Yeah, so it was $446, but this company has sales all the time. So I would say $350 is realistic if you wait it out. Because I monitor the site quite a bit. They have a lot of other vehicles I'm interested in skid plates for. And the install I'm not including because you can just do it in your driveway. It's
fair enough.
Anyone with the sockets that can do it.
So you're $1,500 in. You've got KO2s that give you about an inch, and you've got a skid plate. So now I like this because now you can bomb some dirt roads and not worry about some things.
It's rally spec right now.
You've rally spec'd it so far.
Yeah, absolutely.
2, I think back to our Oklahoma trip when our trails around here, we have to go to Big Bend or Oklahoma or something like that.
Right.
Our most recent trip, and we're going back to that same area here soon. There are some times you get to some spots where there are some rocks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not that you're actually boulder crawling or any of that, but you could, if you don't get the line right, you could scrape a tad, and so that brings you more peace of mind.
And when you do think about the scraping, especially when you're straddling an object or an obstacle like that, first thing that comes to mind is oil pan, transmission pan. Yep. Anything else you're willing to drag.
Right.
You're like, okay.
Yeah, everybody gets so worked up about some other things. You're like, that can drag.
Like, if you rip the catalytic converter off, you can still drive it home.
Right. It's not vital.
If you put a hole in a plastic oil pan or transmission pan, you're done.
You're dead. You're dead. Yeah. You can't patch that on the side on the trail. That's not happening.
You got to drain it, clean it, JB weld it, maybe, and then get more fluids. And up there, there's no auto parts store
Well,
anywhere.
You're going to be miles from anything.
Hours.
If you don't have a buddy with you, you're really in trouble. So, you know. Yeah.
Either way, you're leaving it there. So that's why the belly skid pan was more important to me.
That's really good, Brian. That's really good. I think we've both done some good things here.
Also, with the way this is designed, I can go up our hill test because it's the leading edge at the bottom of the car now.
Yeah, it kind of solves the scraping problem.
Yeah,
Who cares if it scrapes?
Just bounce up it.
Just scrape it.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. That's really good. I think we've both done really well here. Well, Brian, I think it's not going to be any surprise what mine is, number 2. So it's going to kind of what your first one was. I'm getting tires. So I've got a lift.
Okay.
Now, I can get a little bit bigger tire. I can get a 245 70-17. So it's going to be a little bit taller sidewall. A little bit taller sidewall.
That's nice.
Which gives you about another inch in lift. So
that's pretty good.
So you get about 3 inches over the stock height.
Inches matter, Craig.
An inch in the tire, basically, and 2 inches in the lift. That's not bad at all. You get some good sidewall. I'm not getting the same tire.
Okay, that was my question.
I'm not getting the same tire.
What
Because I got to keep my price down. A little bit big tire. I've spent some money on the.
I like how we're both being frugal as if we were really doing this. So we didn't set a budget.
No, we didn't
at all. But we were like, this isn't lotto rules. Like, no, Craig sent me an assignment. You have an XLE Rav4. For some reason, you didn't buy the rear diff one. You got this one.
Yep.
Which is why I'm annoyed, because realistically,
I knew you were not going to like it.
So mad. Been mad all day.
They even told us, like, no, wait, I'm going to tell you which vehicle.
You spec trim. I was like, bastard. Anyways, because I was already on the RAV4 site. I knew you were going to do that. So anyways, what has happened here is we've spec this as if we were spending our money.
Yeah.
Because, like, if I bought an XLE, I'd probably do this.
Isn't that what people want to know? I mean,
let's be real about it. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm getting a tire that we've lived with in our life as well, and I think you know exactly what it's going to be.
Yoko Geolander.
It's going to be the Yokohama Geolander because I've had that on 2 vehicles now on Xterra. I had it on my F-150 prior. It's maybe the quietest all-terrain tire out there on the planet.
A lot quieter than the KO2, and the KO2 is already quiet.
Not that the KO2 is loud,
no,
at all.
But it is quieter.
And same thing, I'm getting C-rated. I do not want anything E-rated.
Not at all.
And these tires are same deal, about $200, $240. So I'm just going to go $1,000.
$1,000, yeah, that's not bad.
But look, Subaru uses those on all their Wilderness editions. Yeah. It's their stock OEM tire. There's a reason they picked that tire. It's a good tire for crossovers because look, you're not doing rock crawling.
Oh, KO2s are kind of overkill for a crossover.
It is a little bit overkill. And look, my driveline's not going to be beefy enough to spin a grippier or a heavier tire.
No.
That's what I want. And most of the time I'm going to be on the highway getting to the trail anyways. And I want comfort.
I'm with you. And the only place that it actually really falls behind its competitors is mud and mud only.
Yes.
And this is not a mud bog build, so it doesn't matter.
I don't want mud.
It just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So why do you want mud, Craig? You seem really apprehensive to mud lately.
A lot of mess. A lot of mud everywhere.
Reminds me of a Polaris we had once.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay, mod number 3 for me, and my last mod.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a bonus mod, but I'm not go there yet.
Okay.
Mod number 3 for me, and I kind of wish I found your Iron Man, but it is suspension, as you had guessed. I think you saw it on my phone a minute ago. Anyways.
No, I didn't.
Okay. Northwood Performance has a whole section of RAV4 specific modifications.
Okay, I haven't seen that one yet. Okay.
I had no idea there was an overlandy, off-roady market for the RAV4. Who knew?
Skid plate wise, there's also LP products. They have a bunch of stuff
I
too.
know.
I don't know
they
if you
were
sell that one.
Great prices on those. By the way.
Okay.
And then also, Real Truck had that skid plate you're talking about for sale on the rear diff for like $90.
Crazy.
I mean, like for skid plates, it's unbelievably cheap.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I went with a non-shock replacement lift kit.
Oh.
Because I'm trying to budget minded. I mean, what I really get.
Look, there's nothing wrong with those.
No, I know. But I didn't do just spacers.
Okay.
So what I did was the lift kit package for the 5th gen. It's $565.
That's not bad.
It is new front springs that lifted 1.5 inches.
Okay.
Spacers in the rear, but a different spring rate in the rear.
Interesting.
To accommodate overlanding payload.
Oh, good.
So they found that this is the best balance. Balance was just doing that, and then obviously it's got sway bar and links that are the correct
match. Yeah, match length. Yeah.
But that's it. And so it raises 1.5 inches after it is included a 15% payload increase.
So you can keep the standard shock.
Standard shock.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is the 1.5 inch ride height is not at empty. That's it with payload.
Oh, good.
So it's increasing the payload by 15%.
So we've both done the same thing. We've both gotten about 2.5, 3 inches extra.
Yeah.
Off the stock 8.3, which is
pretty good.
So we're at 10 to 11 inches.
Yeah.
Ground clearance. That's really good. And this, by the way, this is a pretty short wheelbase. I think the wheelbase is like 108 or something like that.
Yeah, it was short.
So now we've got good approach angles.
Yep.
So with your mods, you've now effectively, you've got a 20+ degree approach angle.
Yep.
You've got the tires that get up it. And you've got a skid plate. You don't have to worry about it, even if it does touch a little bit.
Absolutely.
And so now you can go on these trails we've talked about in Oklahoma that are can be really rocky at times.
It'll do anything we did in Oklahoma last time.
It'll do all that, no problems. And you have like you have a lot of peace of mind.
Absolutely.
And because, look, I think a lot of people too, the reason we've both done pretty mild lifts is a lot of people want to go crazy and do 4 inches, 3 inches.
Well, and don't do that. You'll ruin it.
2 inches max. 2 inches is almost too much, really.
Yeah.
That is the upper limit. Otherwise, you're starting to mess up all kinds of things.
Yeah.
We also haven't gotten crazy on tires. You could get bigger if you really wanted to.
You want to rub it with this thing.
There's no point in getting bigger tires. It's just silly.
And to me, this is not a dedicated overland build. This is not some type of crazy rock crawling thing. I'm taking this to work on Monday after the trip.
Right.
And so KO2s are quieter enough. Geoliners are even better. And this lift is not going to completely murder the geometry of the factory suspension. It's going to be a livable package. I think you've done the same thing. So
very good. I like your build. And so all in, you are at how much now? That's
right at $2,000.
Yeah. So you've taken a $33,000 vehicle, and for $36,000, you're ready to go overlanding.
It's ready.
This is why people are doing this.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's cheap.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Brian, I'm going to get into my final mod. I think I'm going to throw you a curveball. I don't think there's no way you're guessing what mine is.
I've got a guess.
Okay.
I want you to go first, though. I'll see if it's right or not.
Okay. My guess, my pick is I'm getting something really cheap.
Oh, well, I'm wrong then.
Really effective.
Okay.
I'm getting you a portable fridge to plug into your car.
You me one or you one?
Well, my build is getting one.
Okay.
And I'm getting a cheap one off Temu for like $100, $150 because here's what happens when you go overlanding. You gotta have a cooler because you gotta have your food.
Right.
And then you put a bunch of ice in it, it sloshes around, it's a pain in the butt, and like on day 2, you're like out of ice. Well, this is kind of annoying. And ice takes up a lot of room.
Right.
So I'm just gonna get a portable fridge I can plug into the some outlet in the back, I'm hoping.
Right.
I haven't researched that enough, but I'm sure there is. And it just keeps my food cool or my beer cool.
Right.
So when I get to my spot, because I've got my tires and my suspension, I have food or beverages ready to go, and I don't do this old ice game. I don't have to worry about the ice game.
Right.
And I only spent another couple $100, so I am now $1,500, about the same, $2 extra grand for $35,000.
You're under that.
I'm getting to all those spots we got to last time, and here's why I think I can do it with. And I didn't get skid plates. Here's why I didn't get them.
Yeah, I'm curious about that choice.
I didn't get skid plates, Brian, because we took a Nissan Xterra up on these trails last time. Mm-hmm. Its ground clearance 8.5 inches.
Mm-hmm. We only hit a few rocks with it.
And we made it. We hit some rocks, not too many. To be fair, there are some leaks on that transfer case since we come back. To be fair.
There.
But I just wonder if he had 2 more inches, would he have even scraped any of those?
Maybe not. Yeah. I would say probably not.
And it's a pretty short wheelbase vehicle, so I think you're probably okay with the right
wheelbase on those two. Yeah. Okay, I've got a few points of contention I want to bring up.
Okay.
Or just notes, I guess.
Okay.
The ice thing. I want to park here because this is actually something I've been going through personally lately. We haven't talked about this.
Okay.
I have a cooler in the mail.
Okay.
It's one of those stupid double wall, 7 days, ice won't melt kind of nonsense coolers.
Right.
Yeti, Arctic, whatever. There's like 5,000 brands out that do that. It's on the way, and I think that solves that. For a 2-day trip, you put in like 1 bag of ice or half bag of ice, and you're done.
I'm going to tell you why you're wrong on that.
Okay. Well, please, yes.
Those coolers take up so much space because the walls are so fat.
I got a big one because of that.
And so it takes up cargo space. And then you're still messing with ice. And yeah, it does they do work well as far as the holding ice thing. We did that on the last trip. We brought one of those, the Arctic ones. But then you lose so much space on the inside of it. And you're like, I don't think you realize how nice a portable fridge is. You just don't have to mess with that.
Okay, let me tell you why you're wrong. Here's why I didn't go that route. Because I looked at that too. And this is where my head's at least. I could be wrong about this. No, I'm not wrong with this. Actually, I know how this works. But something you haven't thought of and why I think your budget...
I have. Oh. I've got a rebuttal to this. Go ahead.
Okay. You need an anchor or a jackery or a power station.
Exactly.
When you get to campsite and turn it off...
Exactly. And so to stay under your budget, here's my wild card. Okay. I'm buying one of those because I'm still cheaper than what you spent on your build. And so what you do is, yes, in all seriousness, that's a good point.
Yeah.
You get a power station. You have to get a power station, whatever brand. And what you do is...
$200 you can get one for that, though. Enough for that.
When you're driving...
It just needs to work while you're not driving.
When you're driving through the trail, you're charging both those things in the 12-volt system that the car has. Then when you get to the trailhead and you actually turn your vehicle off, you plug it into the power station, it'll power it overnight.
No problem.
Problem solved. You don't have to worry about it.
No, that is a solve. That does work.
And so, honestly, if I was doing a real build, I didn't want to cheat and make that a 4th one, but that kind of has to go with it.
But I feel like you could say a refrigerator setup. I think that's fair.
Okay.
All of that. It's like spring and shock. It's the same objective. You're achieving the ice thing. Ice doesn't bother me that much, but no, I get that. That's a fair thing. The thing is, like those fridges, if you get a decent one, they're really expensive sometimes.
Yeah, that's why I'm not getting a decent one.
You got to hunt it out.
That's why I'm getting a cheap one.
I couldn't even find a cheap one that cheap, but
like $150 on Temu.
Okay, well I'm going to Temu after this.
It may only work one trip.
Okay, I got you.
Right.
Do you want my bonus mod?
Yeah, I've got a bonus one, but go ahead.
Okay, well I'll knock mine out. It's actually two, but it's redneck ones.
Okay.
One is, well, this is actually the one that I would not do because I have to work on Monday. But the one I want to do is weld the rear diff. That's about $100 at any local drift shop, and then all of a sudden it's locked forever. And it doesn't matter what's in front of you. You can rip the nose of the car off. It's going up. So that's what I would like to do, but that's a really bad idea.
Yeah. Okay.
What I thought as a counterpoint to that is maybe if it is welded, what I could do, because the center diff is still clutch, I could remove one of the drive shafts on the rear half shaft. And then when I get to the trail, when I'm gonna be on dirt the rest of the day, put the half shaft in.
Good.
So on the
That's
way to
actually
work,
not bad.
On the way to work,
it's just front wheel drive.
Well, it's thru-wheel drive.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, so one wheel's still driven. So I'm thinking right rear is always driven.
Okay.
Disconnect the driver's one. That is probably easier than swapping in, because I did a lot of research on swapping in the torque vector and diff. It is not easy.
I think you're overthinking the rear diff thing. It's gonna be fine.
I know.
We've done these traction systems are good now. You don't have to have that.
They're better, but lockers are still better than them.
But yes, those are very redneck options.
Yeah. Oh no, there's one more. The last one is if I had $20 left over, I'd spray paint the wheels.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, because we didn't get wheels in our build.
We didn't get wheels at all. Yeah. No, I would like to do whatever. Whatever makes it like a dark bronze.
Yeah, because the XLE comes with boring gray wheels.
They're pretty bad.
Wheels. Yeah, they're
well,
pretty
they're not even steelies. You can't even take the wheel cover off. So
I know.
Yeah.
So okay, no, those are good.
I'm calling that freebie though. I had that at home. I can do that.
Those are good. My bonus options were I would get the skid plates because that's I really debated the skid plate or the fridge.
Yeah.
But I was pretty sure you're doing skid plates, so I was like, I got to do something different. And
good call.
I think the fridge is a game changer. And look, I'm figuring you're going with me on this build.
Right.
So one of us needs a fridge, so I got a fridge.
Thanks, man.
You're welcome. But so I would get a skid plate if I could.
Sure.
That's my bonus one. The other one I really thought about and really wanted to do, I also thought about this one. I was really tempted. Lights.
Man, I thought about that, and there's a ton of light brackets.
There's a ton of light brackets, ditch lights, fog lights, whatever, light bars.
If I had another $500, I would definitely do lights.
That's handy. Sometimes you're on the trail, maybe it's a little later, you started early in the morning, who knows? You can turn those on, you can see everything.
We've done that run with the Raptor a long time ago, but when we first started the channel, we didn't really know what we're doing at all. We did a 3-day or 2-day trip down to the hill country, filmed like a 7-hour adventure that just didn't make it to YouTube because it was awful. We didn't know what we were doing. And those ditch lights saved us from so many deer that night.
Yes,
it was helpful. Very
so
helpful.
I think those are options to consider as well. But our top three are, to recap, your top three again, what were they?
Tires, basic lift, good skid plate.
And I went with tires, basic lift, and a fridge.
Better lift. You did a better lift.
And then a portable fridge. So I think those are so. Anyways,
but you skipped skid plate because your lift was a little bit higher. So you're using the logic that you probably won't hit an obstacle.
So if you go with our four, if you go skid plates, lift, tires, and a fridge, you've got one heck of a setup. Interesting.
My 4 includes a diff lock.
Well, no, I'm talking about our 4 combined out of our 3.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
So, but you do that, you've got a pretty good overland setup. Interesting that none of us picked anything sleeping wise. We didn't do rooftop tents.
Okay.
Do you want to speak to why you didn't do that?
This is my philosophy that I was going to bring up in the beginning of this episode. My philosophy going into this was, to me, overlanding, the most fun part is not I've got my kombucha and a plaid chair to sit on, and the rooftop tent, and all the gear. REI is in the back of my car. I don't care about that. To me, the wheeling's the fun part.
Getting there.
And then you sleep because you didn't make it back to civilization.
Exactly.
That's why I like to overland.
Exactly.
So to me, I went to the skid plate. I went to, that's why the diff was so important to me. Because I'm sorry, I want to take this thing on the freaking Rubicon if we need to. Like, I would rather do that than not have to deal with ice. So that was kind of my logic.
Okay.
Not the ice, that's a good call, by the way. That's very nice. I'm just less annoyed by that, and I would much rather have the skid plate than that. That's why I want that.
Fair enough. So you'll starve to death, but at least you got there.
Oh, no.
You'll starve at the spot.
No, it just won't be cold.
Okay.
So I won't starve.
You'll die because of poison because your food's spoiled. Okay.
Whatever.
Anyways, no, we also...
and the other reason is the rooftop tent is so freaking noisy. Is that where you're going next?
Yes. Sorry, we've driven vehicles that just, with any roof rack, they're heavy. They make noise. Look, this RAV4 is big enough you can fold the seats down. Just sleep in the back of it.
I can diagonal that thing and put my feet on the console, my head at the tailgate. I can sleep in that thing. So my logic was the same as yours. I'm sleeping in it.
Yeah.
Or just get it. I already have a tent anyway. So that's like, if you're a camping person, you probably already have that anyhow. So
it just, I guess the point is, you and I saved $2,000 or $3,000 not doing the rooftop business.
And we made it mechanically sound.
It means it still drives good and doesn't make any more noise, and we can still sleep when we camp anywhere we want. We don't have to have the rooftop tent. Anyways.
When it comes to things mounted to the roof, F that noise, because the wind noise really is terrible.
Okay, Brian, enough overlanding crossover talk.
No more hypothetical. Let's get real.
Let's get real. We've got a long-termer we need to introduce.
Yep.
That actually is going on a trip soon.
That same trip we just mentioned, it's going to be your rig. You'll be driving it. Unless mine breaks, and we'll both be driving.
Well, yeah, we all keep driving everybody's rig because they're all kind of sketch right now, except for the one we're introducing. Yep. Well, I say that. It's already had repair. So, Brian...
It's on its second clutch.
Go ahead, lay it on us. What did we get? Why did we get it? And what's the repair we've already had to make?
Okay, well, we didn't make it. But look, I'm super duper excited about this. You and I have been kicking this can around for about 3 years because they keep coming up cheap, man. There's a bubble every other year where, like, I can't believe they've got this published at this price. There's no
Seriously.
way. Okay. So
and there's no tricks. Like, you just go on the websites and they're advertised price.
And it's not one. There's several.
Yes.
Now, in our case, there was less because of timing, but we've been eyeballing them for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And we did the math on it. 2023 is about to wrap up. We've not bought a car this year.
Mm.
And for business reasons, we kind of need to buy a car.
Yes.
And you and I generally buy enough cars that we have something to write off on. We haven't bought a car this year. We have nothing to put it on.
We've sold cars, but
We've
not
sold
bought
cars. And part of that's because we're so busy with the show and press cars, we haven't thought about something we want for ourselves or things, projects. We're just busy, and that's great. But we also need a support rig because the Land Rover's getting long in the tooth, and we can't trust it very well. And we kind of need a spare between the two of us. Mm-hmm. Which needs a heavy word for really what's going on, but we could really use one. So we went and bought a Jeep Gladiator. Is what we did.
A Jeep Gladiator.
We bought a 2023 Jeep Gladiator, and not any Jeep Gladiator, Craig.
No, we did not. No, we got a special one, buddy.
We got the most stripped model available at the time of purchase, and also the cheapest Gladiator in the world at the time of purchase.
And we've done some research. I'm pretty sure it's the cheapest vehicle with a 2-speed transfer case. I'm calling 4-wheel drive.
I did the same. It is, to my knowledge.
I cannot find another 4-wheel drive vehicle as cheap as that out there. That's new.
Yep.
And it arguably may be the cheapest pickup truck.
So I dug into that because you and I got this the other day. There's an asterisk.
Okay. With 4-wheel drive.
Well, that's no asterisk to that. That's true.
Okay.
This is the cheapest 4-wheel drive pickup on the market, period, the end.
Okay.
In November of 23. Okay.
But also the cheapest 4-wheel drive vehicle.
Period. Because the Wrangler, now I'm not saying all-wheel drive, I'm saying 4-wheel drive.
Yes.
That means rear drive bias, transfer case.
It means crossovers are out.
Crossovers are out.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm considered this the cheapest truck on the planet. Because, well, there's a few work trucks that go underneath this.
Like a Colorado work truck?
Yes.
Or, okay.
And it's,
but they're 2-wheel drive.
But it's last year's model. But it's still a 23.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry, the 22. There's a 22 left over that was cheaper.
Okay.
The only other thing that was considered a truck, according to Cars.com, is the Ford Maverick.
And that gets tricky.
And let me tell you why that's left out. They're all marked up higher than this is.
Okay.
So when you actually go to contact that dealer, it's 10 grand more than they say it is.
It is an asterisk. So it's arguably the cheapest truck, too.
I'm going to stand on that mountain and die on it. I think it's where it's at. Now, the reason why it's so cheap, Craig, is because the only options are the silver paint that we wouldn't have selected anyways.
That was a $495 option?
It was.
Yeah.
And then rubber floor mats.
Oh, yeah.
Which were 170 or 200 something.
Glad we got those, though.
I'm actually really glad we had those. Other than that.
Because this strip truck has carpeted floors for some reason.
Yeah, I don't understand that. You think you have rubbers.
Yeah.
Whatever, that's fine. Let me tell you some things it does not have.
Well, it's going to be a long podcast.
Okay. A solid roof. This is a soft top.
Nope, doesn't have a roof.
Doesn't have a roof.
Did not come with a roof.
Nope. It does not have rear cruise control.
Nope, does not have that.
It does not have power door locks.
Nope.
Which means you have to go and lock each door manually by yourself. I haven't done that in 20 years, Craig.
Yeah.
It's kind of refreshing.
You don't have a fob that you can just hit the unlock button.
Absolutely. In fact, you look at the remote, it is just a giant blank fob. There's no buttons at all.
We haven't driven a vehicle in a long time where you can't just touch the door and it opens.
Forget
the fob.
Yeah, there's no passive entry. It does have push to start.
It does, which is very weird.
So the key that's embedded, the flip key in the fob, is just to unlock the door.
That's it.
In case you left your pocket knife at home and couldn't cut the top off,
Right.
you have a key to get in.
Right.
It also doesn't have power windows.
No, it does not.
Which I think this is the last vehicle on sale in America today that does not have standard power locks and windows.
I cannot. I don't know of another vehicle that has that.
The Colorado comes standard with it.
Yeah.
The Frontier comes standard with it.
The Ranger.
The Jetta comes standard with it.
Yep.
The Versa comes standard with it.
Yep.
Right. Name me a cheaper car or any car.
I don't know any car.
Me neither. It's out. It does not have hybrid technology. It does not have navigation.
Or power mirrors.
Oh yes, thank you. Power mirrors. There's not even to move the mirror, you reach over and physically move it. So when you and I car swap, I hope they're close. Our torsos seem to work. The side mirrors are the things we don't really move usually between car swaps. And then other than that, it doesn't have a lot of knee room. And it doesn't have an automatic transmission, which is my favorite part.
That's the best part.
That's the best part. So look, I'm pumped about it because how many times do our viewers say, hey, nice diesel Brodos are $80,000 because press cars are always the loaded ones. We can never get a stripped one. We ask for stripped ones. They just don't put them in the fleet. It's never going to happen. Manual Gladiator will never hit the Texas fleet ever.
Never.
It's never going to happen because not enough journalists here can drive manuals, which is another side story. And we found it. So we found the truck for the guy that says, those are too expensive. 31 grand? Find me a normal car for that kind of money.
Not forget just truck guy. Anybody buying a new car, it's
Right.
hard to find a $30,000 car these days.
Period. Good point.
Forget
Absolutely.
what kind it is.
Absolutely. And other guys were like, well, yeah, but I wanted to be four-wheel drive. Done. Well, they don't make manuals anymore. Done.
I want to be a full frame, fully boxed frame.
Done.
Yeah.
I want live axles front and
I want
rear.
stick axles front and rear and be a real truck.
Done.
Yep.
It has all that stuff. So all these like old Land Cruiser guys, Craig, that kind of stuff, they should be very happy with this.
I want beefed up axles. I don't want some cheap axles
Dana 44s as standard.
because it's a Gladiator.
Exactly. And the rear axle is straight off a Dodge Ram. That's why it's a 44 in the rear.
It's also why it has bigger rotors on the rear than it does the front.
You're right. That's a part spin. Oops. That's how that happened. But look, and I'm going to address the elephant in the room. The proportions are kind of terrible because they kept the same doors as the Wrangler, and they said this thing better fit dirt bikes in the back.
I looked this
So
up,
the bed's long.
and I looked this up today. Yeah, it has a 5-foot bed.
That's bigger than most full-size trucks.
Yeah.
Or on par. It's in the neighborhood.
Yeah. It's a 5-foot bed. The wheelbase, Brian, is, well, I'm just going to tell you, it's 137 inches.
All right, a full-size F-150 is 144.
Yes.
Okay.
Look, people say this is too long. A Tacoma's actually a little bit longer than this, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah, I looked it up.
On the short bed or long bed?
I think the long bed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, the Wrangler's 118 inches. This is 137. That shows you how much longer the wheelbase is. Wrangler 4-door.
Unlimited. Yeah.
Yeah. The Wrangler 2-door is like 96 inches.
That's a baby car. It's hysterical. By the way, the Wrangler 2-door with this exact powertrain, 0-60 and 6.1. This is the heaviest version of the in terms of chassis. I can't wait to run this on our 0-60 test and introduce and all kinds of stuff. But anyways, you've heard it here first. This is it, and here's why we got it. Because if you said, "Man, I miss crank windows," they don't make them stripped anymore. They don't make manuals.
I don't need those options. I just want to build it.
I want to be affordable. I want to build my own Rubicon.
Yes.
I want to spec it the way I want. Here's your truck, dude. Because the Rubicon's double the price.
Yes, absolutely. And look, we checked resale. The resale on the base Gladiator is unbelievable.
Look, Carvana's already offered us a lot more for this than we bought it for.
Might be
It's
why they
funny.
went out of business too. But anyways,
Well, details. Side story. By the way, the offer's changed 3 times since we bought it. They keep emailing me and telling me they can't figure it out. By the way, the dealership we bought it from was very insistent we get gap insurance.
Yep.
I explained to him what Carvana offered. He said, "Well, shoot, you don't need this. Don't sell it too soon," is what he said.
Yeah.
Also, I do want to shout out that dealership. It was Mays. It was a Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, the CDJR, whatever.
Mhm.
They're in Aurora, Missouri, and the reason we went there is because this is the closest manual we could find.
Yeah.
There were cheaper ones, not cheaper ones, but there were comparable automatics
As cheap automatics.
in DFW.
But we didn't want automatic.
We didn't want an automatic. Now, can we talk about... Anyways, that dealer was great. There was no BS. You and I have big pet peeves with this. Where we go to a dealership and the advertised price is $29,000. You walk in, well, there's a $6,000 admin fee. What the heck? Get out of here, you know? Or we're selling you a product that is like snake oil. It's not a real thing. That stuff drives us crazy. There was none of that here.
That's good.
Well worth the drive. And by the way, it's in a beautiful part of the country. It was a real fun drive up there. I would buy this thing again and again and again if it came up.
Okay.
In fact, they only had one for sale, which is why we have one.
Okay.
Otherwise, we might get two.
Okay.
Pretty happy with that. So, let's talk about what has already been repaired on it.
Yes, get into that.
And then I want you to talk about the first mod we did to it.
Okay.
Okay. So, the reason why this was partially marked down as much as it was is there was a stop sale. Not a recall. Well, it was a recall. But not just a recall. A stop sale on the manual transmission Gladiator. which means this sat on the lot for, I think, 90-plus days, waiting for a fix on this.
Yeah, and this affected about 70,000 Wranglers and Gladiators.
Yeah, it wasn't just Gladiators. It was all the JLs and the JTs. Yep. Absolutely. And what happened, Craig, is the factory clutch. It's a Luck clutch, L-U-K.
Mm-hmm.
I've run those in the Mustangs before. It's it's an OEM supplier.
Well, that's what we have in the Xterra.
Okay, yeah, they're fine. I've had good luck with them. No complaints. Well, apparently, not all of them were as lucky. So what happened was, and I've also looked into this, what happens is a lot of guys that put bigger tires on them, there's more strain on them. On the highway, you're cruising on the highway, cruise is locked.
And it's a dual mass flywheel, I believe, right?
Absolutely, which is adding to the complexity, which means it's multi-piece. It's bolted together, riveted together.
Yep.
What happens is the clutch pressure plate is not heavy enough in clamping force. So what happens when you put 37s on the factory gearing, it's just straining to maintain 70 miles an hour on the highway.
Yeah.
And the clutch is actually slightly slipping the entire time.
Yeah.
And when you're driving, you can't smell clutch burning. You have no idea. And if you're on like a constant highway, the tack stays where it's at. And you're like,
you can't tell.
You have no idea.
Yeah.
And what happens is that clutch gets so overheated, the pressure plate gets overheated, those rivets melt, and then it explodes.
Literally burns your truck down.
And then what happens is it catches on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, hit up the forums if you're curious about that. That's the thing. Mm-hmm. So, we bought it as soon as the parts came into the dealer, secured it. It was fixed about 12 hours before we picked it up. In fact, I got the green light that it was done as I was leaving DFW to go get it. So, we already knew it was happening. So, that's that. And look, it's got probably 600 miles on it now, 700 miles when you're driving on it. And about 690 of that's on a new clutch. So that's good. New clutch.
Yeah, that's good. I'll talk a little bit about so far already, some preliminary thoughts. Look, coming as someone who just got rid of an 80 series that has stick axles and a coil springs, which rode great with tired shocks.
Yep.
This thing rides great too. Live axles with coil springs ride good, it turns out.
It's leafs that kill you.
Coils
are great. Well, look at the Rams. We're in Mopar land. The Ram has coil over a spring, and the new Tundra, and the new Raptor. They all ride really, really good.
This rides good in my neighborhood. This rides good I've already taken on dirt roads and had fun with it. And yeah, it runs good. Some things it does have, you talk about all the things it doesn't have. Some things it does have, high beams that barely work.
Okay.
Kind of pointless.
Okay, all right.
Because it also doesn't have LEDs, Brian.
Yeah, there's not a single LED on the whole truck, by the way.
It does have CarPlay.
Selective CarPlay.
Well, when it works, it has CarPlay.
Okay,
We've already run into that.
Yep.
But you better have your binoculars on, because even though that dash is right on you and there's no room,
it's not that small.
It's so tiny.
No. The screen, the mechanical screen is like a fair size.
Yeah.
The CarPlay readout is missing like 30% of the screen. Yes. I don't know why. It doesn't even have there's nothing else around it. It's just blank. So I don't understand that.
But it does have rear AC.
And heat, yep.
It has lots of room in the back, lots of headroom because it's a soft top.
Yep, and the rear storage is better than any of its competitors. Under the seat, and then the back seat folds down, and you can put tool bags, you can put recovery gear. It's got more storage than any midsize truck out there.
One of the things we're already looking forward to and is learning that this is the long term. Learning that this is a midsize that's been slept on, even by us.
We by us at least, for sure.
So,
and a lot of our competitors have said that too. And a lot of that's the Jeep drawback. Like you have built a truck for someone who has got to be a Jeep person, or at least open to that. Yeah. Because some people, my brother-in-law included, desperately hates the Jeep culture. They hate the ducks. They hate the topless jokes and all that stuff. It just drives them nuts. And I cannot wait to take this to Thanksgiving and show it to them.
It is really interesting that we hear people complain about that a lot. When they were designing this Gladiator, they almost made it a Dakota instead of a Gladiator originally.
Right.
And instead, they decided to go the Jeep route, call it a Gladiator, make it look just like a Jeep.
And keep it manual.
I actually am glad they did that.
Me too. Absolutely.
But I am curious. I just wonder, did they miss the boat by not coming out with Dakota as well?
Well,
I'm glad they didn't do it instead of, but I wonder if they should have done it in addition to.
Well, the good news is there's a ton of rumor mill about Dakota coming out in the next 25-year model. So
maybe we'll see that.
I guarantee you it won't be manual. This will.
You mentioned the first mod. We have already done a first mod.
Yep.
One of the things we've learned real quick in the Jeep world is if you're in the JL, JT platform, there are accessories galore. This might be the most customizable aftermarket supported vehicle on the planet.
I'll support that. Absolutely.
I mean, maybe old muscle cars, someone could argue that, but I don't know about that anymore.
Here's why it is, though. One, it's a Jeep. That's not new. Jeeps have always had Jeeps, Mustangs, Miatas, 3 Series Beamers. Those will always have a good aftermarket support, and Honda Civics.
And apparently RAV4s.
Yeah, CUVs are now the new Corollas. Okay, so I get that. This is unique in that it's a new platform I'll say it's new. It's a current platform that's like good. It's a very buildable thing, but it's been out for just long enough that people are now trading that thing in for something else, and all their takeoff parts are on Marketplace.
Yes.
But they're still like new.
Yeah.
So what do we add?
We have added side steps or rock rails, sliders, whatever we call those.
They're not steps, they're rock sliders.
I'm sorry, not steps. They're rock rails or sliders, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
Off of a Rubicon, the Rubicon takeoffs. Right. And they were free.
Free 50 cents is what that was.
Free because the person just get them out of my garage.
Yeah.
Someone's probably wants them.
And by the way, Marketplace is littered with those for $100 or less, which means just come get it.
Yes.
And so we did that. We went and got it. Well, actually, there were a network of friends and family. We went and got it. And they're the factory rock rail on the Rubicon. It's a standard feature for the Rubicon. They're beefy. I had no idea how strong they were.
The person we sent to go get the friend of the show that went and got it for us picked it up and he goes, by the way, those are really heavy. I didn't expect those to be that heavy.
I didn't either.
And I had to have my son help me install them because you can't pick it up by yourself and align the holes and get the brackets up. They're beefy. They're very beefy.
I'm super happy about it. But also, without them, the truck looked completely naked.
It looks unfinished.
It's like you're just going to rip a pinch weld off.
It was uncouth.
It's uncouth is it. You have to have something there. So I'm glad we have that. I'm glad it was free. And what's funny, though, I told some friends that we got this via text. One of them has a Gladiator. And he immediately says, oh, man, I've got a gift for you. I've got Rubicon rails in the garage that are free. I said, don't worry, we already have it there.
That's funny.
So if you buy one, my recommendation is if you are inclined to like kind of DIY, make it the way you want it, get a stripped Gladiator.
Yeah, and with that, Brian, stay tuned. We're not 100% positive what we're going to do with this thing. We know we won't have this a real long time, but a long enough time to get to know more about it.
Right.
It's going to be, we keep debating, the debate we're having right now, and what you're going to have to stay tuned for and watch the videos for is, what mods, or will we do any mods to this?
Or do we have enough time to do mods to this? That's the real problem.
Well, part of the problem is there are so many things available out there in the marketplace, we almost can't help ourselves, and I have a feeling we'll be doing a few more mods, although we won't get crazy with it. But
there's 3 things that I expect to happen before this is gone. One of them's already done. The rock rails.
The rock rails.
So
had to be done.
More on that later. I don't want to say anything else. Let's leave it at that. And I don't want to say anything else about why we have to get rid of it at some point.
With that, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to leave us a review on Apple iTunes or wherever else you listen. If we get that info, we will get you some swag. Sometimes it's hard to tell who did that exactly. Send us an email at breakcheckshow@gmail.com, and we will be sure to get you some of that swag after you leave us a review. And with that, Brian, we'll catch you on the next one.
Thanks for listening.